Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for the Q&A, so let's go ahead and knock this out. Alright, first question. If someone wanted to replace dynamic days with lighter rep days, say 3x10 at 70% 1 rep max, would this be as effective? Of course it wouldn't be as effective. Why would it be? You're not doing the speed work. From a hypertrophic perspective, probably so. But here's the thing I'm going to ask you. You really think you're going to do 3 sets of 10 on the deadlift? After doing that on the squats? I don't know about that. At least not for any period of time. You could probably get away with it for about 3 weeks. And then you're going to be buried if you try to do it longer. So, from a hypertrophy perspective, sure. Pretty similar. You're not going to get the benefits of the speed work, which is going to be the compensatory acceleration, the number of first reps, practicing setups, all those things. Right? You're not going to get all that stuff. Now, do I have lifters who just are so terrible at speed work we replace it with rep work? Yes, I do. And I eventually try to get them back over to speed work after a while. But I tend to do a lot of 5s and 6s on their big lifts for those. In other words, we don't come in and try to do 10s. I like to save 10s for more supplemental lifts, or even if we're going to do it on a main type lift, maybe after max work. All right. I usually do around 5 or 6 reps for them. And then we'll do heavy singles on the deadlifts. Right? You know, we'll still do them at 80%, maybe 30 seconds apart, 85%. But as far as it replacing it entirely, no, you won't get all the benefits. When you've seen me drop speed work out personally, what have you seen me do? I replace it with max days, then with fair amounts of training volume and supplemental work. And like I said, you could do this. You could do blocks of repetition effort. You do blocks of repetition effort, but I think you're going to find some lifts it's going to be a problem. You're going to find 10s to be a problem on the box squat. You're going to find them to be a problem on the deadlift. You can do them with a back squat. If you're going to do box squatting, though, you better stick with 5s. You maybe get away with that on your bench day, though. That's a little different. You could do 10s. But again, you're coming back over to why are you choosing to drop it? Do you have a good reason to not do dynamic work in the conjugate system? Right? Think through why you're doing it. Is it because you're bad at it? Or because you think it doesn't work? Well, we know it works. We see the results. It may not work for the reasons people think it does. If you're bad at it, again, you could run rep work for a while and focus on getting tighter and learning to explode more, then come back and do it again after a couple phases. But no, it won't fully replace it. It can replace the hypertrophic components of it, which is very important. Don't get me wrong, that's a massive part of it. But it's not all of it. All right, next question. Hey Jason, if I wanted to minimize gym time for a couple of months or so without losing any strength, would it be a good idea to just do 1 upper day and 1 lower day per week? Would it still be wise to rotate max effort lifts? And would it be okay just doing like 5 sets of bench and rows on upper and 5 sets of squats and good mornings RDLs on lower? Interesting question. Yeah, I would rotate it. Look, if you're going to run conjugate, you could go ahead and you could just cut your work in half. Right? You want to minimize gym time because let's say life has gotten in the way, you're really busy with work and you need to just keep the strength you have. Honestly, 5 sets a week will do it on each muscle group. That's actually enough. And that's what the research says, not on novice lifters, on more advanced lifters. 5 sets a week will maintain all of your size. Maintain the strength, you will need to do maxes. But here's what I might recommend. Look, you can minimize gym time while doing speed work. Speed work does not take long. You could do a max effort upper and a max effort lower in 1 week. Max effort dynamic. Getting tongue-tied. A dynamic effort upper and a dynamic effort lower the next week. Yes, rotate your maxes. Of course you rotate your maxes. You don't want to have overuse problems. And hell, you might actually get some PRs. Okay, so I would do all the speed work, right? You could do 5 sets of pressing after your max and 5 sets of rows. I would again do speed benching, will handle most of your pressing. make sure you do some rows, maybe some other upper back work, some tricep extensions, JM presses, some rope press down, something. On the lower days, you probably get away with that. You could do some back off sets of squats after your main set. Do good mornings. On speed days, I would speed box and I would speed pull. I would still do both and then do some good mornings. And you'll probably be fine. Yeah, it would probably work. Right? It would work. You will maintain your size and strength just fine doing that. Right? You'll maintain it just fine. And a lot of people don't believe that. They think, oh man, if I cut back at all, then I'm going to start losing size. Well, that's not actually how it works, and that's not what research has shown. So you could kind of follow what I just told you, modifying off what you said, and you'll be okay. I would not neglect your weakest muscles. If your triceps are ever a weak link, for example, do not pull out your tricep movements. Right? So on and so forth. All right, next question. Hey coach, I sit for almost 8 hours every day because of work. I have tight hips, hamstrings, and also rounded shoulders. What exercises or stretches do you recommend? Stretches for the most part don't work. I would recommend some dead hangs for the shoulders though. I would focus on rowing and maybe face pulls, band pull aparts for that. It'd probably be wise. You need to build your rhomboids. You need to build your upper traps. You need to build your posterior deltoids. Put a lot of focus on rowing. And again, some band work and stuff if you need to, face pulls. This would be a good idea. For people who sit and have the tight hamstrings, tight hips can be fixed with box squatting. The hamstrings are a big deal. You have weak, tight hamstrings from sitting. The one reason I push the good morning so hard. Good mornings, number one fix. Perform correctly, this will eventually over time correct it. If a lifter has such tight hamstrings in such a bad situation with glutes and hamstrings to where they've rolled their back under even on a deadlift, I would replace all their deadlifting with RDLs if need be, or even sumo pulls, right? Conventional might be out for that person for a while, right? That's a secondary fix if it's really bad. And then for people who it's so horrifically ingrained that they can't help but roll their pelvis forward all the time, I would even have them learn to do box deadlifts or chair deadlifts on top of it. That's your most extreme case, by the way. Someone who is so tight in that area that their pelvis rolls under like a dog taking a poop. No matter what we do, we would go to all three of those as a fix. But again, first fix is just lots of good mornings, high rep good mornings. Start working on the stretch reflex in that area. Strengthening the mobility and the strength and size of the hamstrings. If that's not doing it quick enough, RDLs, replacing any other pulling, right? And if we still need more, if it's still a problem for them, then things like seated deadlifts, basically, whether it's a chair, box, bench, whatever you want to call it. I like to call them box deadlifts. They call them chair deadlifts at Westside. That will help you. Again, because fixing tight muscles or areas like this usually involves building muscle mass and strength in the right muscles because we have an imbalance. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 2.